What's up guys, this is John Kill3D Gaming here, and I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but I feel that I've had the need to make this one. And I'm not going to be able to tell you how long or when my upload schedules are going to be, again, since I'm just doing nothing but live streams. But this video, whether it's liked, hated, opinionated, it doesn't matter. I'm here to talk about the culture of Star Wars fans. How the fans ruined the franchise, and ironically, not Disney. Think about it like this. The fans, they're beginning to sound like the separatists. This is all you hear. Disney ruined Star Wars. They're trying to cram their feminist SJW political beliefs down our throats. And they made a bunch of terrible Star Wars movies, like they ruined Luke Skywalker. Why can't George Lucas be in charge? I've heard this way too many times. Every day, I just see a bunch of people who claim to be fans of Star Wars complain about Star Wars as much as they can. About how Disney ruined the Star Wars movies with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Now, in the past, I have seen this argument before. But I'm not going to get into everything today. I'm going to be objective. Today I'm not going to talk about my own opinions. I'm going to be giving you a brief history on how Star Wars ended up like this, and how the fans of the franchise were responsible for what has happened to Star Wars. I won't be rude or pompous or anything. I'm just going to be telling you the events like they happened. So, let's take a trip back to 1999, guys. After 16 years without Star Wars films, after the release of Return of the Jedi in '83, fans were overjoyed about the idea of a new Star Wars movie. People couldn't wait for George Lucas to release Episode 1. The movie came out, and how did the fans react? People loved it. Fans of the original trilogy were nearly unanimous in saying that the film was fantastic and a must-see. One person in the video even stated that Jake Lloyd, the actor who played Anakin, stole the whole movie. You see that? Almost every single one of the fans are radiating positive ideas and thoughts about the Phantom Menace. In fact, one guy in the video said it would be great. It would be a great movie 20 years from now. It'll be part of the 6 great movies, unless the next 2 really suck, but I don't think they will. Now, when you go thinking about that, how were Star Wars fans so in love with the Phantom Menace back when it came out, when many currently consider it to be the weakest alongside Attack of the Clones? I think it'd be chalked up to the idea of one thing: hype. There was too much hype around the Phantom Menace, and everyone thought it would be the greatest thing. And when fans watched it, they simply wanted to like it. But when the hype died down, people ended up thinking, damn, that movie wasn't that good. And then the hate began. People complained about the Phantom Menace. People complained about Attack of the Clones. And the complaining never stopped. Everyone was fucking livid at George Lucas for raping their childhood with those shitty prequels. You can go to YouTube and look up Star Wars prequel sucks and find dozens of videos criticizing the prequels. The hate for the prequels is everywhere amongst Star Wars fans. And the reason George Lucas sold the rights to Disney is because all the backlash he got for the prequels. Now, I cannot partially blame myself because I have done my own fair share of prequel bashing. But whenever I complain about the prequels, I don't try to do it in a mean or hateful way. My criticisms come in constructive points. And that's something that not all Star Wars fans can do, which makes level-headed, fair criticisms. People hated the performances of Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best, a 9-year-old Anakin and Jar Jar Binks respectively. And these 2 actors got so much hate that Lloyd permanently retired from acting, and Best was nearly driven to suicide. All because of the Star Wars fans attacking him in their vicious videos. Now, 20 years later, Ahmed Best faced backlash at the effects of his career. You know, the poor man. And when you think back and you look at the archetype of Jar Jar Binks, he was meant to be the odd man out. Okay? So give him credit. You know, you go to make a movie and all you do is get criticized, and people try to make decisions about what you're going to do before you do it. You know, it's not much fun, and you can't experiment. You can't do anything. You have to do it a certain way. And a lot of people don't like that, and they never will. Lucas tried to experiment with the prequels by making them different from the original, and it blew up in his face. All anyone ever wanted to do was point out everything he did wrong and how he could have done so much better with his decision making, and Lucas didn't want to be part of that. He wanted to experiment with new things, but he didn't want to receive any more fan backlash. Every time Lucas made an addition or change to the original trilogy as well, he got hate for it. And when he made the prequels, he got hate for all that as well. So you can kind of see how he could get sick of it. So Lucas sold the rights to Disney, and Disney went in their own direction, with Lucas agreeing and disagreeing with some of the choices they have made in their sequel trilogy. Let's think about this. If Star Wars fans hadn't given the prequels so much hate, and if we had just kept our mouths shut about the quality of the prequels, would we be where Star Wars in terms right now? No. George Lucas would have still enjoyed making Star Wars films, and he'd be at the helm of episodes 7, 8, and 9. Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, and J.J. Abrams would have no creative control, and Lucas would be making the new films. But is that currently the case? No, it isn't. So it doesn't matter if we think the Star Wars sequels are good or bad. We know is that had Star Wars fans not given George Lucas so much hate about the prequels, Lucas would have likely still owned the franchise, and he would still have fun making these movies. Now, some of us have criticized Disney era for killing off Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, when in Lucas's original plan, Luke was to die in the final episode after training Leia in the Force. But the way I see it, it doesn't matter, because since Carrie Fisher passed away after The Last Jedi, she would not have been able to make an appearance in Episode 9 anyway, meaning that Lucas's original vision would not have come to fruition, whether he was still in charge or not. And there was some criticism over Disney releasing too many Star Wars films and essentially milking the franchise. I think we can all agree that Star Wars-based films and TV shows are being released at a much higher rate than they were in the past, with Solo, with Star Wars Resistance, and The Mandalorian all being released, or like have been recently released, or to be recently released. Please forgive my misread here on my pad that I'm using a notepad to keep everything on track so I don't stumble off a bit. So please forgive me if I do, because I can't read as fast. Because of a few days ago, a Star Wars fan was reacting to the cancellation of the Boba Fett film by saying Kathleen Kennedy canceled it over a male lead character, and when I responded criticizing him in a tweet, by the way, because I got into some arguments. Actually, no, it was on tweet. It was during a Star Wars community. They called me the N-word and made many attacks on my personal YouTube comments, and I quickly backed out of the discussion and I just left it be. And all I want to say is, what happened to you guys? What happened to the Star Wars fan base? Where has it led to? It's fine to not like certain parts of Star Wars. I don't like certain parts of Star Wars myself, but the more we complain about it, little things like this, the less we're going to see movies going forward. Endless complaints about Star Wars is what made George Lucas sell Star Wars. So if you want to continue to complain and continue to give Disney a reason to drive Star Wars into the ground, at the end of the day, it's not them who's going to destroy it. It's the fans. Okay? You want your legacy to be preserved, do you not? And what I mean by your legacy is, do you not want the legacy of your fandom to be preserved, almost to where you can pass it down to your kids? You want Star Wars to keep being passed down from generation to generation. Your parents showed it to you. You showed it to your kids, and your kids will show it to their kids. Is that not the cycle that needs to keep going for Star Wars? And there is no objectively good or bad Star Wars films. And opinions aren't facts. Complaining endlessly about these movies has brought us harm in the past, and if we're not careful, it could bring us harm in the future. So let us all just shut up and let people who like the new Star Wars movies like the new Star Wars movies. At some point, this Star Wars fandom just went wrong. And if we want to fix it, we're going to have to go back to 1999, when all of us could enjoy Star Wars and be respectful to all those that did not like it. Okay? Star Wars is not going to go anywhere as long as you, the true fan, preserve it. Okay? It may not be in the best of hands of Disney. I highly agree with you. the video game licenses are not in the best of hands. But as you can see, the games have also been slowly starting to turn around and take notice. Now Disney is also relying on the television shows for their Disney Plus program to reinvigorate things, and it seems to be reinvigorating a lot. Okay, we're looking forward to Clone Wars Season 8. And you know what's funny? A lot of people who hated the prequels, the very people who hate the prequels, love them now. Why? Because a show gave it context and actually fleshed things out. That's one of the problems the new trilogy does have. You can't have everything fleshed out in a film, and people are too lazy to research and get themselves prepared for what's going on. Because nowadays, people just need to accept you're not going to get movies, information in a film, or plot points in a film right off the bat. And you're not going to continue to get rehashes like you are in the past. Disney tried it. They gave the New Hope vibe to Force Awakens. People bitched that it was a rehash. Did they not? Okay, when The Last Jedi actually tried something new, and when you listen to the audiobook and read the book also for yourself, the book fills out the missing gaps and actually makes The Last Jedi almost, I would say, in terms of, it still has a rate that you would give episode 4, like a rating or a ranking. It will never be Empire Strikes Back. And I agree that Rian Johnson is being, like, he's digging himself a greater grave by just continuing to talk nonsense. But out of all the Star Wars films, Empire, well, in my book, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, and The Last Jedi. Okay? But now, who knows? With the Rise of Skywalker, here's an example for you guys. With the Rise of Skywalker coming out, take that title as one thing. Star Wars, like any other fandom or any person, has to fall. You have to hit rock bottom before you can rebuild yourself better. And I think that's what Star Wars did. Think of it as the Darth Vader model. Think of it like this. Anakin fell, and it took something small, like the love of his son, which could be huge to most people, but in the film's context, it was not highly emphasized like it should have been, I feel, but that's an opinion. Our love for Star Wars can save it. If we just express complaints at the right times, not for every little thing, because it just makes us all sound like children. Okay? I don't own Star Wars. You don't own Star Wars. So you're nobody to make the decision for it. Okay? And I would think it would be worse if us, or if a fan was given control of Star Wars. Like a full-fledged fan. Because just because things worked in Legends material, that does not mean it would work today on screen. They tell you this with comic book films. That should work with any adaptation of anything. You know you're not going to be able to do everything that's outrageous. So it's like people want Star Wars The Force Unleashed type behavior and movements, for example, in a Star Wars movie, when that would not simply be the case. There's no indications that would lead for it. So fans just need to calm the hell down. They really do. Okay, because I would hate to look and see in many years to come that my fan base did not continue and it just got destroyed. Like, I would only have to be able to hold on to the past, but Kylo Ren said to kill the past if you have to. I wouldn't say it in that meaning. I would say preserve the past, but use it as your tools going forward. And if I was in charge of Disney, I would also see this as a wake-up call to anybody that has the license of Star Wars, both when it comes to video games like EA and when it comes to the Disney Star Wars films. They're a company at the end of the day. Your reactions and your backlash will not give them reason to continue it. So that means they could put it on the shelf, and whose fault that would be? It would be all of yours. So I hope you guys all sit back and think about that. Think about that for a minute. You want Star Wars saved, but unintentionally, you all might have just unintentionally